Hey, welcome everybody to Friday Night at the Crib. Um, I think we're mostly going to concentrate on what's going to happen with the new Tier 7 stuff that we've started to see in the last bounty and today. I think that's probably the most useful thing to talk about, and then just everything else that goes on in the game. Um, Today I'm welcome to be joined by the Holsch
Howdy, everyone.
and Rum Runner. Rum's a little underneath the weather at this point, though.
Back from Florida hell.
Yeah. There's no truth that he has Zika. So
No Zika.
no Zika. All righty. All right. Is there anybody that wants to talk about bounty? I think it was the same bounty as last time, so I don't see much point in it.
No, not really.
Just make sure and redeem your prizes before it runs out.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll put Rum on present, and we can go ahead and start going through the slides.
All righty.
Okay. Let's advance one. Bug fixes and tuning. Fixed a bug that caused icebreakers to fail to stop at the correct moment during combat, making them fail to stack properly in combat. I don't really use my icebreakers that much anymore. Has anybody, Holsch?
I'm not really used to it.
Okay.
It seems enthused with those since they came out. So
yeah, it seems odd that it would be isolated to a single hull, but maybe it's just because they're so fast that it causes the issue. And no word on Siege Battery. They told us a couple weeks ago that it would be fixed, and I'm just hoping that they would include it in the bug fixes as opposed to, letting us figure it out on our own. I think it's been elevated to enough of an issue that I would hope that they would tell us when it actually is fixed. And you can go back two weeks ago, we did a whole show on this where you're getting about 33% less turret protection with the siege batteries than you would with frontline countermeasures or garrison battery. So, alrighty, I guess on to the next one. They're transitioning over a 2-week period of time to the Scourge blockade targets that we saw in the last raid cycle. And they'll be replacing the Reaver Armadas from the year ago raid cycle. Currently, there's no info on the Reaver Armada 102 and its replacement. Has anybody hit these? I hit the 35.
No, I haven't. I've heard somebody say that they take forever.
I don't know. Oh, so you hit one?
No, not yet. But I saw that people were taking crazy amounts of damage on the forums. Now, if that's from bad builds or bad driving, I don't know.
Well, I hit the Scourge Blockade 45, the old 35. I hit it with and again, I'm needing to modify my builds. I hit it with my Hunters on auto because I assume the Scourge Blockade 45, you should be able to auto with the Hunters. And I mean, I can see some tweaks I need to do, but it worked in the raid and it works in the TLCs with no problems whatsoever. But I took 40 minutes of damage.
Wow.
On for 5,000 uranium. I mean, if I drove it, I'm sure I would have done much better. And again, I can see some tweaks that I can make. But it's not. It's not
snowing
pretty.
Sideways.
Oh, really?
Gorgeous.
Is that inside the house or outside the house?
That depends on what kind of snow we're talking about, I guess, huh?
yeah. That's what I was asking.
George, wipe your nose. Wrong snow.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, I'm ready.
All right, very good. You gotta get. He was busy doing a little show prep.
Exactly.
Yes.
Got it with this show, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, yeah,
Otherwise, I'm afraid people are gonna steal it. You know.
Pretty
yeah,
bad when he has
exactly.
to fluff himself, though.
Yeah, yeah. The yeah. Have you heard anything about the Siege battery? We brought that up on the previous slide.
I have not heard any fix to the siege battery. That's
Okay.
awesome. That's pretty accurate right there. No, I haven't heard anything. I know that they're supposed to have it fixed before the next raid, allegedly.
Okay.
That's what I've heard, but I don't know how accurate that is either. So
Okay. Alrighty. Yeah, no info on the. Oh, have you hit any of the new targets? The new skirmish targets.
No,
Okay.
I'm afraid to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if you caught it. I hit a 45 with my hunters, that have wolves tooth on them. I mean, I could probably fine tune them to auto. That's why I was curious, because you were really working on autoing these targets, and I just let it run complete. I grouped them and then let it run and then push the S button. But I took 40 minutes of damage on the 45.
How much?
40 minutes.
Damn.
And I mean, I could see that I probably need to tune it. I have 4 or 5 days of tokens, but I did fine in the raid. I did fine in the raid, and I did fine in the TLC, but I was controlling them at that point. So they may not be optimized to auto, but I just wanted to do it experimentally with the 45.
I'll go hit one right now. Hold on.
Okay.
I mean, you guys keep on talking. One of the things that annoys me with this whole thing, though, is that these targets, when they first said that they were going to be going onto the map, we were told that they were going to be tuned for the map after the raid. And I don't know that I've seen any targets that have been tuned down into the map. I mean, there's a couple that we know have been tuned up after the raid and put on the map, but, we're not at half repair. I'm not sure what the deal is with this. Like this is starting to really annoy me, especially because it's just making chores that much longer and harder.
Yeah. And Darren's mentioning in chat, and also I've seen in the forums, people that put Tide Seekers in there are getting 20 some hours of damage, and they're not completing them.
On which 45?
Yeah.
What the fudge?
Yeah, and so it's not. It's going to be very difficult.
What am I supposed to be hitting now?
Scourge Blockade
45.
45. I see a 35. I see a 57.
Those are the Reaver Armadas.
That's a Scourge Blockade.
Okay, if it says Scourge Blockade 35, they listed it as 45. So go ahead and hit the 35. I've been reading their post too much, and it became a 45 because they posted it that it was supposed to be a 45
on auto. Did these start you in the same spot, or should I pick a certain?
I think they all started you in the same spot. But yeah,
I went in at 2:00. Let's see. Where do I start?
Probably start around
7. I start at 7. All right. Well, let's let it go on auto and see what happens. I'll tell you in a couple minutes, I guess, because holy crap, this is a big ass target for 35. What the hell? Yay!
Yeah, well, yeah, but yours, because you were able to auto a lot of the.
I was auto on the S set. Yeah, I was auto on the S target.
Yeah, I wasn't. I was controlling on the S set, so you may end up with very different numbers than I did because I didn't optimize to auto. But I thought lowest target, auto fleet, I should be able to do it for something very reasonable. So you might be able to get away with just instant repair.
I'll tell you right now, they already split. Mine have already split. I got 3 going one way, 2 going the other. That's awesome. Come on, man. Crying out loud.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, and he also mentioned they're providing less res, but none of these skirmish.
Now I got them. They're going 3 different ways now. What the fuck? Holy shit.
Yeah, but the skirmish, they have less available resources. But if you're going in with a full fleet at this point, you're not carrying that much. You're still going to end up at 500%.
1 hour, 14 seconds of damage.
Okay. And you were able to run the assets for how much?
A lot less than that.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I was lucky with I was lucky with 40 minutes of damage.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Okay. All righty. Just making sure I didn't have a really bad build going on there, but doesn't sound like that's the issue. It sounds more like it's target based. So, alrighty. Now that we figured that out, let's move on. Alrighty. All right. Prize pack 4 of your FM has 2 new PvP armors. We're going to take a lot of time trying to explain how these work, along with the 2 other components that show similar high deflection. But quickly, we'll go over this one, the D6U. Has a lower build time than we thought, 19 hours. Everybody projected it to be around 2 days. And the titanium cost was only $459, which I hope is an ongoing trend. I found that to be extremely surprising. As you see on the right hand, there's 2 of these. There's one that does radioactive, concussive, corrosive, providing 64K of deflection with a 15-minute repair time. And there's another one that does explosive, penetrative, and ballistic. And they both have a pass-through of 360. And we'll get more into why that's important. They actually have a repair efficiency of 0.9, which is the worst thing we've seen in a while. But the armor is low, and so it's not really about the armor. It's really about the deflection. So this is one of 2 of them. And the important thing is you can only equip 3 of these to any Conqueror or Defender hull. And so let's move on to the next slide. We won't say too much about that. Whoops. Okay. All right. These are the 2 other. Okay, the compound plate and the D60U. Okay. Let's go on to the other pass-through items. These are the other 2 items that have a pass-through of 360: the Onslaught and the 2XQ mortar. And what pass-through means is it's gotten more complicated with the introduction of the Chaos mortar and other stuff, and we'll get into that. Is anytime a single salvo hits your ship, the pass-through is the amount of damage that is done to your ship if your deflection is not exceeded. So if you have a deflection of 1,000, and if you're hit with 900 and you have a pass-through of 360, you're going to take 360 damage. If you have a deflection of 1,000 and you get hit by 1,100 damage, 100 more than the deflection, you're going to take 100 damage. And they've changed this pass-through of 360 is much, much higher than what we've seen historically. GDR wrote a nice long post explaining everything. There's a little bit of it, a little snippet of it below, saying that at some point soon, we're going to see the pass-through stats for other armors and ships and things of that nature on the stat block in our blueprints. He provided an example of a pass-through of 100 as an example. That is, I put red X's across the last 0 because a pass-through of 100, I think, confuses people. And we're just going to go with the number 10 because I think it's much closer. If you've watched any base hits or fleet on fleet, you'll notice if some, or done any testing, you'll notice if a ship has great deflection against a damage type that it's receiving, and even multiple salvos, it's not taking significant damage. It can sit there for several minutes. And with a pass through of 100, as you'll see coming up, that you would be seeing significant. You don't have to move forward yet, Rum. You can stay on that last one. You would be seeing significant damage. The number of 100, I think, is highly inflated. And from now on, we'll just talk about, even though I don't think it's true that all the pass through for the older stuff is the same. We're just, as an example, we're going to use a number of 10. I think that's probably a good average of what you would expect on the older technology with much, much, much lower deflection values. And again, we're only talking about damage-specific deflection values, not assault deflection or ship and structure now, or ship and building. What do they call it now? But yeah, ship and structure deflection at this point. That's not impacted by what's going on here. This is just all damage-specific deflection. And as I've talked about historically, I would like to call one shielding and one deflection to limit any confusion.
I mean, do you want to complicate everything and explain that, everything, like a weapon has a minimum damage, the ship has a minimum damage, and armor has minimum, like, these things, these values are...
I'm getting into that. That's the next slide.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Rum, can you move forward? Okay. Provided two examples here. On the left-hand side is a boulder fist. And you see the existing ballistic deflections with no armor on it. And we're going to call the pass-through on these to be 10. And so right now, I think I've explained it pretty well, but if that ballistic deflection of 200,000, if it gets hit by something, it's going to take, nothing has a ballistic deflection that's going to get above 200 besides, some cannon on an OP and whatnot that gets numbers like that. But generally, you're not going to get damage at that point. So at that point, you're going to take damage of 10. But if we put the D6U on it, which provides, as you see, corrosive, concussive, and radioactive deflection. And so the ballistic, penetrative, and explosive are not going to be impacted. They're still going to remain at a pass through of 10. Now, let's say we get hit something with a, now that we put this armor on, we get hit something with corrosive damage. Before, let's say we were getting 7,000, we would take 10 damage on the left-hand side with no armor. But now that we put the new armor on it, that damage has gone from 10 to 360, even though we have a higher corrosive deflection, because of the inherent quality of the armor. And the way it's calculated is every damage type, the deflection that's used in the programming is the highest deflection or the highest pass-through on your ship. So originally it had 10. Now you added this armor on that has a pass-through of 360. You are going to be taking 36 times the damage in our example of using the number 10. And we're going to get into some examples where this really can be used to a player's advantage if you're going to be defending against these. I have a couple of good examples that will show you what's going on there. And then on the right-hand side, because I call the D6U, I call it the Inquisitor plate. Because if you look at it, it's got, naturally it has ballistic, penetrative, and explosive deflection. The D6U provides corrosive deflection, concussive deflection, and radioactive deflection. So with no armor, you are going to be taking with pass-through damage, 10 of each of ballistic, penetrative, and explosive. But with no armor, corrosive, concussive, and radioactive, you're going to take full damage. Now you put this armor on, and you're going to take 360, but you're not going to take the full amount of damage that you were before.
And this is only, just to be clear, this is only if your deflections are not exceeded. That's the catch. Yeah. And we don't know, and we also don't know what the actual numbers are yet.
On which?
The base ones for the Inquisitor or the Boulder Fist.
Yeah,
the
that's what I was.
Flow values.
Yeah, that's what I was explaining before. Where the number that was used as an example is 100, but it's much lower than that, and that's what I'm saying. That's what I was explaining at the beginning. We're just using an example value of 10, which I think is much closer to the reality than a number of 100. Because what we've seen historically as far as the small amount of damage that the ships take if they have deflection that exceeds the damage that's incoming.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it had to do with the hull itself, but some of the other things too is like some of the weapons had, like some of them had a really, really low, like 9 for a pass-through, and then some of the other ones had, I think, much higher.
But you said the weapons. It's the weapons don't have
Correct.
to pass through. Yeah, okay.
The weapons do have a minimum damage. Yes, they have a pass-through, and it's going to take the largest number of those 3.
That's not really what GDR wrote or what I understand either. The pass-through is associated with the defense, the deflect, how you're receiving.
In his example, yes, he's talking strictly about deflections and how this new armor, the deflection changes that.
Mm-hmm.
But there are numbers associated with all of this stuff. Minimum pass-through, the flow values have been around since the game started.
Okay.
So,
alrighty. Go ahead, Hulse.
Do you have any idea which presidents over the other? Or is it like a combination of all of them? Or
say that again?
Which, like, if you have a minimum damage of like 50 for the weapon and 20 for the ship, which one takes precedence?
The highest number, I believe. It will take the highest number of anything that has a pass-through value associated with it.
Okay.
Alrighty. So I just want to provide these two as examples, and if you take a look through your Conqueror halls and your, I didn't look through all the Defender halls, but I looked through all the Conqueror halls, and the only 2 that have as good of a match with one of the armors are the Inquisitor or the Revenge. As an example, as opposed to the Boulder Fist, where you're actually going to be potentially lowering your defenses by adding one of these new armors on. If you go against high salvo weapons, which will Rum. Let me hit the next one. Okay, here's an example. And we'll get through the pass-through part and how that works on the right-hand side, and then talk about why I sort of like the Inquisitor for base defense at this point in time. Okay, pass-through would be, I like this one and the next one. Okay, we're talking about a pass-through of 3-6. Well, we don't want to show that one yet. Okay, we has 8 weapons, and once you put on the scatter, what's the scatter special? The newer one. It's scatter panel, whatever, that one on the right. That adds a multi-shot of 2. The Sinful Scattergun starts off with a multi-shot of 5. Once you add all these specials in it, it gets a reload of 0.89. So if you are hitting a ship that has a pass-through of 360, either because it's the Onslaught or it's a tier 6 or another Conqueror that has these type of has these armors on them, you would be doing every hit. In this example, you would have a pass through of 360. So if you take 8 weapons, multi-shot of 7, reload of 8.9, in the pass-through of 360, you would be doing 22,651 DPS in merely pass-through damage. You would not be exceeding any deflections. You would just be doing this because it hit it. And the reason I chose this ship and weapon as one of the examples is because it starts with a multi-shot of 5. So it means they all come out at once. And then you have the special that adds 2. So you got 7 per second, or less than a second. You'd probably have 8 per second. If you have something with a high salvo and decent reload, the time between salvos, you know, like an example is the next one's going to be which we don't need to go to yet, has a salvo of 15 on the Chaos Chain Gun, and I like that one for a different reason. But each salvo comes out every 0.02 seconds, so you're only going to be able to get 5 shots in the air every second. This one allows you to get probably 8 shots in the air every second. And this allows you to get this large number here. On top of that, anybody that comes in is going to have a hard time killing this ship. It's not going to be a fragile ship. The top 3, ballistic, penetrative, and explosive, are all going to have a pass-through that we're calling quote-unquote 10. The bottom 3, which didn't really have that many defenses against, are going to have a pass-through of 360. So that's one example of how you might counter these new.
How much armor does the Inquisitor have? Do you remember?
I think like 150,000, somewhere around there. 125, 150, 175, somewhere in that neighborhood. But I'm talking about the damage that it's doing. Or are you trying to figure out how many? It's got
to live long enough. Yeah, I mean.
Well, yeah, but corrosive, yeah, but it's also putting out a fair amount of damage, because the only thing that's, you know, before it didn't have any radioactive.
If someone's coming by it, and they got like a chain gun on their hull, right?
Like a chaos chain gun. Chain gun. Yeah,
is it going to be doing 360 times 3 times how many salvos? 15?
Yeah, 5 per second. 5 per second. Yeah, and we're going to get into that one next. I mean, these examples. I'm not saying to build it this way. I'm trying to provide examples of how this mechanism is working.
Gotcha.
And I already have this one pretty much built. I would just need to add the armors. I already have a Sinful Scattergun, or Inquisitor, because I think we're going to get other defenders that are going to come out. They're going to be more effective. I'm just saying in the short term, and I'm not sure I would put all these armors on. I might just put one on there, but I already have something close to this built, sort of like the next one, Rum. All right, I already have a Justice with Chaos Chain Guns. And I don't see a reason to put the armor on. It's going to be weak to a lot of stuff. And I haven't had a chance to run through the numbers to figure out if putting the armors on would actually make it weaker, because it has deflections across the board, like a lot of the newer 6.5 Conquerors do. So I'm not sure it would help me in any way. But more, I wanted to show a second example of how to take advantage of this 360 pass-through. It has 7 weapons. It's going to fire 5 salvos per second, and the Chaos Chain Gun does 6 damage types. So if the ship that's coming in has the one at each of the armors, would be an example, you would be doing 7 weapons, 5 salvos per second, 6 damage types. It would all be multiplied in order to figure out the number of. I need to come up with a word for this, but the number of times it would trigger a pass-through, and the pass-through is 360. So you would be talking about over 75,000 DPS in pass-through damage with this sort of setup. which if somebody improperly put together a boulder fist or whatnot with one of each armor, it would be dead in 2 seconds. But this is another example. This one includes damage types, even though it's a salvo weapon. The previous one, I was going with a high multi-shot weapon with a low reload, and then also high deflection against it. So, and this one, the reason I chose the Justice, because this has these Chaos Chain guns have a range of 102.5. So, but I don't know. Did I explain, I think, a lot of the possible ways to understand the 360 deflection, 360 pass through? Holtz, George, Rum?
No,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it made complete sense to me when it came out. So,
okay. No, I'm just trying to explain it to everybody as far as different ways to take advantage of this and not feel that you have invincible ships closing in on you.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I tried to I did a quick article trying to just explain how it works, like the actual just the minimum damage thing, how it works. Because I think once people get their mind around that and they wrap their head around that, I think the rest of this is going to be easier for them for it to fall into place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and also once we start to see weapons that actually exceed some of these deflection values, because now you're playing this minimum damage game that we haven't played in a long time. Because I don't think a lot of stuff is actually going to break through that deflection that we currently own. So the more the strategy will come in later when you have things that go through the deflection and things that are taking advantage of the pass through.
Yeah, and that's the other catch too, is that as new weapons start coming out, they're going to get to the point where you can teeter on the edge of that damage amount, and so long as they go over that damage, right?
Yeah,
you're not going to get the pass through. But then you have to balance that with, well, how much damage you're actually taking versus is it worth taking the 360 hit or is it worth taking the possible 500 hit? And then the secondary or the corollary to that is I'm really curious. I wish this come out when a revenge was viable, because that would be really interesting. Because there's also resistance to take into consideration.
Yeah.
So
and the other examples, and these are examples. I'm just saying, if people have something close to this in their base, and we don't have anything else to defend. These are just a couple examples because I basically have these in my base already. Or in my dock, because I actually retired my Inquisitor until this popped up. The other one is if you have prides with like the Raise Scattergun, or what's the other one? The Raise and the other one?
Ruin.
The Raise and the Ruin, and it's tuned for reload. You're going to be doing in that 20,000 range, 20,000 damage range per second in pass through, because it's very similar to the Sinful Scattergun as far as its multi-shot and reload numbers. So that's another one to consider. Anybody else thought of any other weapon or any other ships that you might want to stick in your base that have just been floating around that only take minor tweaks? These are the three: the Pride, the Justice, with the Chaos Chain guns, and then the Inquisitor. Those are the ones that pop to mind for me, as far as at least trying to slow down people that are putting the 6.5s, the 6s and the 6.5s, and putting the new armor on them. I'm not sure how something like this would fare against the Onslaught itself because of the 2.3 million armor. Because even at 75,000 DPS, it's still going to take a long time to kill it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Question was asked in chat, so the armor works better on the Onslaught. Yes, and strictly because it's been balanced around that. The minimum pass-through for that, the mortar, and the armor is all 360. It's the same for whether you had the armor on it or not. So...
Yeah, because we're making an assumption. They're all balanced they're all balanced with 360 pass through. The older technology that deals with deflection, we're using the number of 10, which we know is not always accurate, but maybe somewhat accurate. So we're seeing a large difference there, and that's one of the reasons they boosted the armor up on that ship, is to account for all the pass through that's going to occur. And a lot of this I was just trying to show, once you start putting certain numbers together and multiplying it by 360, the numbers can get quite large. So I guess next slide.
Just new different types of confusion for people that are used to playing it one way.
Yeah, well, I guess we can go back, because I thought we might have had another slide, but I don't know that we need to talk about the TLC yet.
Yeah,
I'll let anybody else.
What we just did.
Huh?
Did you want the TLC or did you want the previous?
Yeah, the previous. Yeah, because I think there's still more to talk about what's going on with the PvP armor and the new Tier 7 PvP experience.
There you go.
So, but anybody else? Hosts mentioned base weapons next. Oh yeah, I should bring that up. Things like, okay, your Emancipator with a 5 salvo is probably going to be doing less damage, even though it has higher damage than your blunderbuss, if anything gets in range, because the blunderbuss has a 10 or 12 multi-shot. So you need to look at weapons that either have like a long range, like the Axiom, which can keep on firing and speed up and just put a lot of lead in the air, I guess, is the best thing to say.
Yeah, death by 1,000 cuts. Death
Yeah.
by 1,000 cuts. That's how we're going to deal with this until we figure out something else.
Yeah.
Yep.
I will tell you, though, after hitting a couple of bases, and there was one that was actually set up like that, and it took a good chunk of damage. Like, I took a good chunk of damage on it, but it still didn't stop me. So, I mean, it's definitely overpowered at the moment right now. The new hull with the new armor.
Yeah. It's we were talking about just putting all long range turrets that fire a lot of stuff, and then putting multiple Z-webs in, just like a timeout base. Basically just try to keep them outside your base as long as possible.
Yeah, Hefe, by the way, I sent you a picture in Facebook because I didn't know if you wanted to add it to the slide. I don't know if you'd seen that yet, but it was the pop-up to the FM that talked about tactical insulator. I figured you'd get a kick out of it.
New FM content is available now. Escalate your siege fleets with the tactical insulator. Okay. Yes. Okay.
I figured you'd get a kick out of that. I didn't know if you wanted to put that up or not.
Nah, it's okay. And it gets into the expedition fleets too, which is always always interesting to me. So, all right, if we're all done with that, I'm sort of been talking a lot. That's why I wanted to give everybody else a chance to just give general thoughts, because we're going to be done with the Tier 7 at this point, as far as tips and tricks, as some people like to say, or just general thoughts on what's going on.
I mean, it's PvP. I don't know how many tips and tricks you're going to get other than the really general vanilla ones. I mean, death by 1,000 cuts. I would suggest you try and get a good grasp on how it actually works, because there's some good nuggets of information in there once you have your head wrapped around it. And when I wrote the article, I was trying really hard to just get the basic concept down, rather than trying to explain all the ancillary stuff about, weapons have it, and then hulls have it, and then armor has it, and then that just got way too complicated. I think once people get the general idea down, it's going to be much easier to follow anything else. Like they'll be able to actually strategize a little bit better themselves.
Okay. Sounds good. Host, besides refitting 12 axioms?
Yeah, that'll take a while.
Yeah, it might take some time. But did you have any other thoughts as far as the path forward here? Because it feels, I mean, I don't want to say the word unbalanced, but it just feels like a weird strategy because I don't think we have much that exceeds these deflection numbers. So it's just, your damage specials don't matter anymore. Your reload specials may, but even those, sometimes you're just maxed out by the 0.2 seconds per salvo. I mean, unless you take a look at your multi-shot weapons, especially if they have a multi-shot of 5 and you can get up to 7, because again, you can only have 5 salvos per second on a salvo weapon. That's the maximum you're going to get. But with some of the multi-shot weapons, you can get it up to 7. So, and then the Chaos Chain Gun is, at least in theory, should be crazy good. So, alrighty, yeah, okay. Let's move on to the Herculean. Again, you need both. You need both the Flying Tooth and the Hunter.
And that's probably why they named it Herculean, because you know what? You got to be Hercules to pull that shit off. And this annoys the hell out of me too. I'm still mad at that whole damn map target. That was bullshit. An hour and something for 35. What the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, this seems, assuming it's the same as the last time, I see some people could be upset about things. It's more worth it to do it than last time. It is very limited in VXP tokens for your Hydra, 5,000 total, and but you do have the opportunity to get all the CICs, which were fairly inexpensive in the raid. Were they were 5 million or 3 million? I can't remember if they were 3 or 5 million. They weren't really pricey if you were somebody that was also out getting the Blood Hydra and all that kind of stuff, or they were around the price of a 1-day build token, plus or minus 20%. The other thing that it appears that they've been listening to some people, in Price Pack 4, they've eliminated the random drop on the build token. Yes. Instead of 1 to 4, they've gone to 2. So that's it's probably what it was weighted at before, because we know Rum would only get 1 day every time.
Absolutely.
So Rum ought to be happy about this. At least he's getting double what he used to.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah. So you can earn 9 total Hydra Siege Cruiser build tokens and 4 charged armors, all 3 CICs, and all the tech. So if you have all the previous tech from Skirmish, it seems like it's a better deal than it was last time we saw this. Especially if you're not one of those people that only has hunters, and you will get the capacitor CIC, and I think it would be well worth it if you just to get that if you already have the other stuff and you only have hunters. So okay. Any thoughts on the Herculean?
Not right at the moment.
At least there's no chests in the last one. Yay.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Other
I
than
guess
that,
move on to the next
I mean,
one.
I'm still not going to get my damn. I don't think I'm going to get my damn things done in time, because shit, next month we're going to have something come out for the, what do you call it? The Garrison, the FM, right? Because FM changes in March. I mean, I
Yeah.
presume that they're going to give us some time to build the shit. So when am I going to build my hydras now? I thought this was the whole thing that they were going to try and avoid, right? But whatever.
No.
We'll see.
All right. I don't have. Wasn't able to get any screenshots of the brand new expedition cards. But the other thing that they did is they basically. It's odd, but they basically normalized. I've never done an expedition because I thought they were bullshit because they don't provide enough.
Here, hold on. I'll send you one, dude.
Okay. But what they've done, this 7-day minimum reward on the one on the right-hand side, is they've basically taken 4 days, 6 hours, and normalized it to 7 days. It does not include the bonus. That's why it says minimum reward. But still, plus 500% on that is not. It's not special. You know, I'm not sure that I would leave my ships around for 15,000 titanium. So, yeah. I don't know. And you're sending me a special one?
Yep.
Okay. Alrighty.
There's this little difference in the top left, and then there's the star. One of them has 1 star, one of them has 2 stars.
Yeah, I got 2 star ones.
Okay, so you're getting about twice the payout generally from what you guys have seen?
No. Like I'm on one for titanium right now, and it depends. Like when the one for the titanium came out that I had the one that was grayed out was 6,600, and the one that I went on was 9,450. But now that I'm looking at it right here, the one that I'm on is 9,450, and the one that's grayed out right now is only 3,300. So that's like almost 3 times the amount. The one I just sent you is what, the uranium one?
Yeah, the uranium one is 21,250.
Yeah, well, both of those are the rare ones, right? But one of them's 21 and one's 13. And then, like, my base parts one is just single ones. I don't have a special one on that one. Maybe I should have sent you the titanium one.
Well, no, one's 2 star, one's 1 star, and the 2 star is 21K, and the 1 star is 9K.
Oh, did it just reset on me?
I don't know. I'm just looking at the picture you sent me. So I think that's the end of the slides.
Oh yeah. So that just reset on me. Yeah, because the one in my game right now is both of them are 2 stars. One's 21 and one's 13. So they even within the special ones, there's a huge disparity.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, I'm gonna open this up. See if anybody'd like to join us for the end of the show or the after show, unless anybody has anything before Mike gets in and starts cussing and berating everybody.
And on that note, I have dinner being waved in front of me, so I got to go for now.
Okay.
So
see you later, George.
Have a good night, everybody. Good luck, and hopefully this, smooth transition's over, I guess.
Smooth.
All right.
Sure.
All righty.
Night.
Good night. Thanks for showing up, George.
Good night.
Yeah, and Rami, you can go off screen share. I'm not showing those anymore.
Okay.
So, anybody like to join us for the after show? No Larry tonight. I think he got a new job. He was out partying, so he'll be back next week. Oh, now Mike won't come on because yes. Oh, never mind. I'm not even going to read all that. So, if anybody like to join us at this point, feel free to. Irv, how are you doing, sir?
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you?
Hello, Irv.
Oh, pretty good.
I do apologise. I've only just this second got in from work.
Okay. Well, maybe we can turn the slides back on. I don't want to repeat everything because I think there was a lot of stuff you would have found interesting earlier on in the show. As far as the new ships and the new armors and whatnot, as far as how to combat them, as far as the
You
high
want
You want to
multi.
give me a quick lowdown, and then I'll make comments.
Well, yeah. You want to share your?
Easy
You want to screen share again, Rom, or is it too late? I mean, but basically, the idea was there was two different ideas as far as defending your base. High multi-shot weapons with the multi-shot special, and trying to get your reload as low as possible to put as much lead in the air on the multi-shots relative to the salvos, because the salvos are limited. The salvo-based weapons are limited to 5 salvos in the air in 1 second. The other thing was the multi-damage weapons, especially the Chaos Chain Gun, because you're going to be tickling them 6 different ways and getting 360 pass through, as opposed to just one way that most of the multi-shots would do. Those were, that was the quick and dirty on, let me see, I'll click on RUM. This is the first example with the, basically the simple scatter gun with the new armor. And also the fact that this is the Revenge and the Inquisitor are the only 2 ships that really seem to perfectly fit these new armors, as far as them not increasing your pass through. The other ones you're making sacrifices with, but the whole idea with this first one is you have 8 weapons, 7 multi-shot, reload at 0.89, so you're doing 22.6k of DPS just in pass-through damage. And then now you can go to the next one, Ron. And then this Justice, because of the 6 damage types associated with the Chaos Chain Gun, 7 weapons, 5 salvos per second. You're doing 75,000 K DPS, and just purely in pass-through, you're not exceeding anybody's deflection. So that was the quick and dirty. We went through a lot of other stuff, but those were the sort of the walkaways. And I wasn't encouraging anybody to go out and build these from new. But if you had like small tweaks, or you just had them sitting in the dock, like I had my Inquisitor sitting in the dock, because I assume pretty soon we're going to see TLC or raids that are going to provide us with something that's going to exceed the deflection on the new ships.
Yeah, because I mean, realistically, what we've kind of getting here is kind of when they first put in deflection versus defense kind of thing. So it's a balancing item. So obviously they've got to try and balance everything. In which case, they've brought out these new armors, in which case they can start to then balance things out a bit. I can see in the raid some new turrets possibly coming through. But, who knows, really? I think it's a kind of, you've got to just suck it up and see it in a minute. But yeah, from what you've got for PvP and defense kind of builds there, looks probably around about right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's other things I mentioned, like that people might have in their fleet, like Prides with Rays or Ruined Scatter guns. You would get similar damage numbers as you would with this Inquisitor, but you wouldn't have the same defenses, because the defenses on this Inquisitor are going to be really, really quite good unless it goes up against Sinful Scatterguns itself. But they're going to be on the other side of the wall, so you have the advantage as the defender being on the right side of the wall.
Oh yeah, it's true. So,
yeah. So
yeah. Oh, it's the same with gluttonies as well. You're going to have the same edge, aren't you? So.
Yeah. I looked at gluttonies because you could put 3 of each, and they only start up with 500 deflection on each one. So I did look at that. I didn't want to put it out as an example of the idea of putting 3 of each armors on gluttonies. That's
because you could do that and they'd be gnarly as hell, but the repair time's gonna suck.
Well, yeah, it's going to add 3 hours. It's going to add 15. It's going to add an hour and a half of damage to each, hour and a half of repairs to each one, because each armor adds 15 minutes if you're not at R&D, and it's like 12 minutes otherwise.
But you would have to be super careful, because unless you get your defenses high enough, that ballistic cannon will still hurt you.
Do we know? I'm just putting this out there. Do we know whether dot damage is affected by the initial deflection on it, or whether you get the higher pass through from like damage over time, or whether it negates the fact that you have such high deflection?
I'm not sure I understand. My big question is what happens with ship DPS, like that's on the Hope.
Yeah, I mean, the way I'm looking at it, because originally when we had deflection introduced into the game, dot damage didn't necessarily get affected by the deflection so much. So your damage over time, you used to get the deflection from the initial hit.
Okay. Now I understand. I kept on hearing the word dock, D-O-C-K. Okay, dot. Okay, yeah, I get you now. We haven't got a straight answer on that. It does have an impact, but if it's linear and how it works, we don't know as far as how that works. No, I don't think we've ever gotten a straight answer. I don't know, and it's probably a sort of a difficult. I guess it's not that difficult to test if you got some coins to test it out.
Yeah, well, I think that we need to kind of push some of the GDs and say, look, we need to know this, because it's quite a massive thing, really. I think, because it's all right having massive deflection against stuff, but we need to know whether or not damage over time as a representative thing with regards to your deflection, or whether or not they're gonna go for the fact of damage over time doesn't sort of get deflected so much, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's a good one, and I assume that that would be a good one to know. And then the other thing is the like I said, the Hope has, I think, 10,000 ship DPS, and I assume that's not even in the ball game. That's just sort of you're getting 10,000 DPS as long as you have weapons in every slot.
Yeah, because there's lots of little quirks that need to be kind of ironed out a little bit. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think as long as we can now go forward and start, because obviously we've already had all of the tactical fields nerfed to a certain extent, so you can only put certain ones on to balance everything out. Hopefully now everything can start to be balanced to this point in time now, rather than the way that it was, which was complete and utter shite, really, to be fair, where it was like insane swings from one way to another. So I kind of, even though I don't think it's probably been done in the best way, if they could have said, look, this is what we're going to do in like a month's time, and then sort of let us kind of prepare a little bit for it, and give us the numbers and stuff that we needed to have, Because I mean, at the minute,
Yeah, we still don't have the numbers. Yeah,
yeah,
we don't have the
so
numbers of what our existing deflections are. Because I ran with the idea of we would call all the old deflections 10, even though I know that's not true, but it's much more accurate than what was provided in the example of 100 by 100 pass through. I think 10 is closer to the number, but that's not completely accurate. And they're supposed to be providing us that information, which would be pretty cool. Because I think it's up and down from the 10. But yeah, I'll be back in a second.
we're Hefe's obviously heard somebody trying to get in his garage again to steal his beer. So yeah,
Yep.
I'm sure he'll be back shortly. If not, we'll just randomly hear a shotgun going off or something. I don't know. Don't think he was very impressed last time. Was it last Friday that it was? I can't remember.
I believe so. Yeah. Yeah. That
Yeah.
was
I bet
interesting.
the garage door got padlocks on it now.
He's put padlocks on. Okay. Pesky kids, terrible.
And I bet those padlocks don't have any pass-through beer holes either.
No.
Yeah.
I've said to him, you know, if you want to stop this from happening in the future, you just need to like have a case of beer sat outside so that people can just take that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no real response to it. He was mightily pissed off though.
Well, I bet he was.
Yeah. So I would have been as well. I would have shot anybody that I would have found, to be fair.
So we
It's
heard
not the fact,
GD
it's not the fact of the beer, is it? It's the fact that someone's in your house without permission.
violated you. Yes.
Not
Do you
great.
guys think the change was good? I mean, was it needed at this point? Or does it just
Something
facilitate?
needed to happen, and I think this is the start of what needed to happen.
But does it just facilitate them in programming ships now? I mean, it obviously gives them more things to do.
Yeah, it gives them more things to do, but you know, you're also getting a little bit. See, the thing is, what's been my real kind of point that pisses me off no end is that everybody's build is exactly the same. And the thing is with it, because everything's been put into such little boxes and this is going to work, but any other way that you build it is not going to work. Everybody's build's the same. There's no variety. And as soon as you stop one fleet, you've stopped them all, kind of thing, you know? So this adds a bit more of a variety into the game where you can put this and that and that, and you know, each individual fleet that's going to be going into a base is going to be slightly different, and you're going to have those little tweaks and stuff like that. So you're not going to be able to stop everything, and you're not going to be able to, you know, walk every base, kind of thing. Whereas it's been quite a clear-cut line quite recently.
Yeah.
Where you either aren't
win.
getting in at all, or you know, you're just going to walk it. So I think it needed to happen. I think the timing of it's probably not great. I mean, really, this should have been done back when the Rage was kind of out, but it's good. It needs to happen. The balance needs to come back. We need to stop these massive swings, which is, you know, we've done the show on PvP aspects of the game. What, probably 3, 4, maybe 5 weeks ago now.
Yeah, I think about 3 weeks. 3 or 4 weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't remember. I think like everything kind of rolls into one, really. But you know, most of the aspects that we've brought up have kind of, I think it's started the ball rolling a bit. I know whether or not Kicks actually watched the show or not, but it seems that most of the things that we did actually point out have kind of been addressed in some sort of way.
I mean, there's a big vacuum. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, carry on.
I was gonna say there's a big vacuum, and one of the things that at least I tried to bring up was to encourage more players to participate in PvP, and it's the big thing that I haven't seen addressed at all is the secondary cost of being in PvP. Like if you go and hit somebody's base, they come and hit you back and fail miserably. If you're not on 24/7, you may lose 18 hours on your ship, or 12 hours, or whatever period of time on your ship builds for the raid. You may lose that time on your you're doing turret upgrades. You're gone for 12 hours, you're going to lose 20 hours on that. And researches and stuff that goes on inside your base that I haven't seen to be addressed, just to get more people into PvP, not to.
Oh no, I agree. I agree with that.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that is still another issue that needs to be addressed. But I think that it's a good start. I think that adding balance is what we need in the game, because everything's recently. I mean, let's be honest. Since really the Rages came out last year, this game's been a swing one way to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other. It's just been like a massive pendulum swing constantly. And I think that if we're starting now to get to a point where we're going to start balancing everything out, and with regards to PvP, it's a good thing. Yes, there's other things that we should be looking at, or I think that Kick should be looking at, with regards to the level of people hitting and stuff like that. Easiest way to do it is if you've got OP fucking 9, you can only hit OP 9 people, or if you've got OP 7, you should be hitting OP 7 people and stuff like that. Things need to be based more on tech level rather than base level, because I could probably start a new base tomorrow and in 2 weeks' time be a level 50 and not have anything really, purely just through bringing in res. So I think basing base level on res gain is one thing that isn't right to start off with, and base level should be, in my opinion, related to the technology that you've got available to you. I mean, I hit a level 129 base the other day. It's basically a level 40 base, as far as I'm concerned, in the way that it's set up, the way that the tech that they have and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So things need to be kind of looked at under that, and I think that things need to be people because it's been going on too long now that people that are like level 113, like I am, hitting like level 50 bases. Level 50 bases aren't going to stop me. There is no chance that they are. But then you have that thing as well where there's level 60 bases that have got tech that's good enough to stop me, if you kind of know what I mean. It's completely broken. Basing it on purely the amount of res that you bring in is just it's a broken mechanic.
Well, yeah, because like I think we talked about it. Because actually, back in the day, I'm not sure if it's still that way. Because a lot of those people achieve that rank of 129 through res swapping or building and canceling and different little glitches in the game. And I put that on them. They were trying to game the system in a game where they just assumed that level meant something besides what I could understand that people would want to gain levels so they could participate in DLCs and something like that. But yeah, the whole idea of res that comes in and out of your base is a bad way to do it, because worse players actually rank up faster than better players, because they're losing more res.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. With me, I mean, recently, because I've been doing my walls and stuff like that, and little bits and pieces here and there. I mean, I generally am completely full of res all of the time, because I hit a lot of bases and I do this and I do that. So my level doesn't really go up, but because obviously I've been doing my walls and stuff and I've been using a shit ton of res, but my level, even at like 113, I'm going up like a level a week probably at the minute, because I've been trying to catch up.
Yeah.
But my tech level's not changed, really. It's kind of crazy. And if you think about how much res that you're going through just to do the wall upgrades, for example, I mean, for me, to go up a level in a week at level 113 is like the equivalent of about 10 fucking levels at level 80. So, yeah.
And older players that have been, I don't even know how many, like, to go back, like how many Hammerhead A's I've built and how many original Dreadnoughts I've built, which I'm still getting charged to as far as what my level is. And it has nothing to do with my current technology that I have, that I had 10 Hammerhead A's built and, X number of, all this stuff in the past shouldn't be relevant anymore as far as that goes, as far as my current level. So I completely agree with you. I just don't know how they fix it, because I think a lot of people use their level as a point of pride, as opposed to me that, I try to keep my level as low as possible, because I know that at times at this point, I've reached a level where it's not beneficial one way or the other. But historically, I always try to keep my level down I never put my warehouses on the outside. There's different things where I tried to basically control my spending, how that impacted everything else. So let's see, 1 second. I think that's so I completely agree with you.
Larry says, well, 2 days ago I thought I'd be unemployed. The kicks I've obviously been involved because the pendulum swings and he's at a 25% rise.
Yeah. That's what was distracting me. You make him get on and make it rain now that he's got a 25% raise. But all right.
Oh, he can prep for me next trade.
Mm-hmm. So I think we've sort of talked ourselves out. And synergy brings up you're either over 50 or under. I mean, which is a good point. That's what we try to bring up in that show, was that the level 50, the decision on level 50 as you're entering the Wild West, was made about 3.5 years ago, where at that point, I think I was like a level 68 and I was on the high end of levels. That 68, 70. And I was on I was towards the high end of levels. And now, a level 70 is a low level.
We must have been what in the old level system we were like 34 to 36.
Yeah, I was like 35 when they switched over the first time because they made 2 jumps in levels. But yeah, I was like 34 or 35.
You went from like 30. I was 35 and I went to 63. I think like level 34 was like 58 or something like that. I don't know. I can't remember, but it's around about that. And then they locked it like level 50 then, which was at the time was about right, but it's not been changed since, and it's kind of it's all. But
because they made that decision based on the number of players that the highest levels were able to hit. And now the number actually might be the same because there's less players in the game. But as far as the technology difference, it's huge.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. So but it's like I said, I hate bringing this up, but Vega has this thing with fleet and technology level versus technology level in base, and you can't hit a level 40 base with a fleet that's less than level 40.
Okay.
So there's a higher kind of strategic kind of hitting.
But I've also seen that abused from whenever I was on there with use one long range ship and just farm newbies every day, all day for no damage.
Well, there is that, but a lot of the time though, when you're getting into like reasonable bases, it's quite well balanced, to be fair. I mean, at least when I was playing, I mean, I don't play anymore, but yeah, it's something that I think that should be brought across to BP is, if you have set fleet with such power, you can only hit bases above that power limit. But because I mean, everybody likes doing a bit of farming, but farming's not fun if you've got 3 buses, a bus, 2 sloths, and 2 king wits, and you're hitting bases that have got sentinel 4s as their like main defense or something like that.
But it's kind of.
but it would be fun if you were hitting them with hammerheads, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So
yeah, hammerheads with the new. Well, I guess you couldn't even put the new. Well, you probably would. Hammerheads with D85Ds. Put 2 of them on there.
Yeah, could be that. Or like I used to have. What did I used to have? I had 3 D55 Vs and a bunch of hailstorms on my. It was my badass fleet back in the day. Siege missiles and hailstorm combo. That's when you made it back in the day. Yeah. But yeah,
right.
basically balance is something that's key, and I think that we're getting somewhere near it. You might have to just be put up with getting smashed for a couple of weeks, but I think that hopefully it's all going to balance itself out. And I think that what we've put together and actually put in the show today is a good stopgap, if we want to put it that way, as to how you can try and defend in the meantime.
Yeah, at least make yourself a less easy target. If not stopping them. I don't know if we're going to stop them with that, but make it a little less desirable. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. So
okay. Alrighty. Anybody else? I posted the link in case anybody would like to join us on the after show. Anybody have anything else for this evening? Ed, Mike, Irf, Polsch? No?
Not right now. I'm just kind of lurking for a few minutes. I'm at work, so.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, we'll proceed to the after show in case anybody would like to join us. It's in chat currently.
I've got one thing I want to say.
Okay, go ahead.
Have you gone and checked on your beer tonight just to make sure it's still there?
I checked on once during the show. I mean, the other weird thing I'll tell you after the show, because I made some lamb vindaloo yesterday for lunch. It's having lasting effects that are bizarre. I didn't expect it. You might know more from, there's more curry going on around you than me. But yeah, we'll leave that to the after show. So
you heard it here, people. Hefe's beer is fine. It's safe.
Oh, my current beer is fine. I still have there's still milk cartons circulating around the neighborhood, that you can buy in the local grocery store that has a picture of the case of beer in case anybody wants to call the number and say that they've spotted it. But no calls back yet on the missing case, but my new adopted child is doing fine. So
yeah.
All righty. All righty, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you on Friday, and hopefully we have some more information on, some better suggestions as dealing with the Tier 7 technology that's come out, and hopefully they made some changes to the skirmish targets. And I doubt we'll hear anything about Siege Battery. So until next week, no. Kids still steal the imports. So all right, feel happy to join the show, and
if you're underage, don't go and stealing beer. It's not good.
Yeah. Don't steal from my house, because if I walked in, it wouldn't have been good. So all righty. See y'all on Friday, and then again on Wednesday. Hope everybody has a great week. Night, everybody.
Later, guys.